I knew something was wrong the moment she hesitated. The hesitation was small, barely a flicker of silence between her breath and her words, but for me it was enough. "Everyone," she said with a forced smile, her hand still resting lightly on my arm. "This is someone I know." Her words sliced through the hum of laughter and music around us, sharp as glass. "Someone I know. Not my husband. Not Arif. Not the man I've spent 5 years with. Just someone I know." The room blurred for a second. My chest tightened, my palms went cold, and the noise, the clinking glasses, the music, the laughter, suddenly sounded far away. I watched her pull her hand back, the same hand that once clung to mine like I was her whole world. And now I was just someone. Rewind a few hours earlier before the world shifted. I'd been standing in front of the mirror, trying to tame my hair that refused to stay down. She had been distant for weeks, always busy, always distracted, but I told myself it was stress, that she was planning something special for her upcoming birthday. When I asked if she wanted me to come to the party her company was throwing for her, she'd paused, then said, "Of course, Arif. You're my husband, why wouldn't I?" But her tone carried something off, like she was reassuring herself more than me. Still I went. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You keep showing up, even when you're not sure if you're still wanted. The restaurant she'd chosen was elegant, lit with soft golden light, the kind that flatters everyone and hides imperfections. A dozen of her colleagues were already there, laughing, clinking glasses, sharing inside jokes I didn't understand. She looked stunning that night. A deep red dress that flowed like liquid, hair cascading over her shoulders. When she saw me, her smile faltered for a heartbeat, barely noticeable but not to me. I'd memorized every shade of her emotions long ago. And then came that moment. The introductions. The betrayal in plain sight. After she moved on to greet another group, I stood frozen near the edge of the crowd. My mind played her words again, looping like a broken record. "Someone I know." A few people gave me polite nods, assuming I was just a friend, maybe a coworker. Nobody saw the storm building inside me. Then I noticed him, Rohan. The man she had mentioned a few times in passing, always casually. Rohan helped me with the campaign. Rohan's hilarious. Rohan knows the best restaurants. He stood close, too close. When she leaned in to whisper something, his hand brushed her back in a way that was casual only on the surface. I watched her laugh, the same laugh that used to belong to me. And in that moment I realized the truth. I wasn't losing her that night. I had already lost her a long time ago. I just hadn't accepted it. I walked out to the balcony to breathe. The city lights below blurred as my eyes stung. My phone buzzed. A message from her, even though she was just a few meters away. "Please don't make a scene, Arif. I didn't mean it like that. Didn't mean it like that." I stared at the text, then at her reflection through the glass doors. She was smiling, talking, glowing in a way she hadn't around me in months. And suddenly I understood. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was a decision. A boundary she'd already drawn. I just hadn't seen it before. Later in the evening, when the cake was brought out, I watched her blow out the candles as everyone cheered. She glanced at Rohan, and their eyes met for a fraction too long, long enough for me to see what she was trying to hide. When she turned toward me, our eyes locked. And for a brief second, guilt flickered across her face. That was all the confirmation I needed. After the crowd dispersed a bit, she walked up to me, voice low. "Arif, please don't do this here. It's my birthday." "Do what?" I asked, keeping my tone calm. "Stand here quietly while you pretend I don't exist." Her jaw tightened. "You're overreacting." "Am I?" I said, stepping closer. "You introduced your husband as someone you know. That's not overreacting, Ananya. That's humiliation." She looked away, eyes glistening. "You don't understand. It's complicated." "No," I said softly. "It's simple. You just don't love me anymore." She didn't deny it. And that silence hurt more than any argument ever could. The rest of the night passed in a blur. I stayed long enough to not make a scene, but every second was agony. When the music swelled and people started dancing, I quietly picked up my jacket and walked out. She didn't stop me. The drive home was a haze of headlights and rain. My thoughts spun out of control, memories flashing like lightning. Our wedding day, her laughter in the kitchen, the nights we stayed up talking about dreams we'd build together. Where had it all gone wrong? Maybe it started when we stopped talking about the small things. When "how was your day?" became just a routine line, not a question. When her phone started lighting up at midnight and she said it was work. When she smiled at her screen in ways she hadn't smiled at me in months. I ignored the signs. I told myself love was enough. But love, it turns out, isn't armor. It's a mirror. And that night I saw everything it reflected back. Her distance, my denial, our slow disintegration. When I got home, I sat in the dark living room for a long time. Her favorite book still sat on the coffee table, half-read. Her scarf was draped over the couch. Everything was exactly where it should be, except us. My phone buzzed again. Another message. "Sorry, Arif. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't want to hurt you." I typed a reply, then erased it. Typed again. Erased again. What do you even say to the person who has already said everything through silence? Finally, I sent just one line. "You already did." The next morning I packed a small bag. Not out of anger but clarity. Sometimes walking away isn't about revenge. It's about preserving what little dignity remains. As I closed the door behind me, the house felt unbearably quiet. But for the first time in months, that silence felt honest. I didn't leave a note. I didn't need to. My quiet goodbye said everything she didn't. Months later, I heard from a mutual friend that she'd quit her job and moved to another city. Maybe she was chasing something new, or maybe she was running from what she'd done. I never asked. Because some answers don't heal, they just reopen wounds. Still, sometimes when I pass by a restaurant lit with golden light, I think of that night. Of how easily love can turn into distance, how a single sentence, "someone I know," can shatter years of shared history. But then I remember the moment I walked away. The peace that followed. The freedom in accepting that not every story needs to end with forgiveness. Some just end with silence. And sometimes, that silence speaks louder than words ever could.